Finally, let's sketch origin symmetry. So we've got our same two graphs. The directive here is to imagine folding the sheet of paper along both the x-axis and the y-axis. So where does the graph end up? So with origin symmetry, you are doing both flips about the x-axis and about the y-axis, okay? It does not matter which order you do the flips in, okay? You can first flip over the x-axis and then flip over y. You'll get the same answer if you flip over y and then flip over x, okay? But the key here is doing both flips. So let's see how this goes. I am going to start with the left graph. Again, I'm going to track old versus new. So my old points are, of course, negative 8, 3. And then I've got negative 6, 7. And negative 4, 0. And let's start flipping. I'm going to flip over the x-axis first and then the y-axis. That's sort of my preference. But again, you could do this in either order. All right, so here we go. Let's flip over the x-axis first. Okay, so let me highlight the x-axis. We're going to do the flip here. Okay, so here we go. This point at negative 8, 3, it is 1, 2, 3 units above the x-axis. So when you flip it, it's going to go 1, 2, 3 units below. Okay, I am going to put an X right here. Okay, at negative 8, negative 3, because this is not the final place. Okay, this is only the x-axis flip. We now have to flip over the y-axis. Okay, so let me highlight the y-axis in blue. So we're going to go ahead and do this particular flip. Okay, so I left off at the x. And now we're going to flip over the y-axis. So I'm going to draw towards the y-axis. The x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the left of the y-axis. So now it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the right. So negative 8, 3 is getting sent to 8, negative 3. Okay, so that is going to be the new point here at 8, negative 3. Okay, so let's look at negative 6, 7. Okay, let's first flip it over x. Okay, the point negative 6, 7, we need to draw towards the x-axis so we can flip it over the x-axis. So let's count boxes. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units above the x-axis. So you're going to fold the sheet of paper. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units below. So I'm going to put an X here at negative 6, negative 7. And now this X needs to get flipped over the y-axis. Okay, so I'm going to draw towards the y-axis. The X is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units to the left of the y-axis. So of the y-axis. So we will fold the sheet of paper and we will end up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units to the right of the y-axis. So the final position will be 6, negative 7. Let me keep it in green like I've been doing. So 6, negative 7 is where that point will end up. All right, lastly, let's take a look at the point at negative 4, 0. Okay, we're going to first flip it over the x-axis. The point negative 4, 0 is on the x-axis, so it stays put. Okay, so now we need to flip it over the y-axis. So we are going to draw towards the y-axis. Okay, the point negative 4, 0 is 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the left of the y-axis. So when we fold the sheet of paper, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right. It's going to end up at 4, 0. Okay, so that's the new point here. All right, so our 3 big points have moved. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase the stuff in the intermediate steps here. And now I'm going to connect the dots in green. Okay, so we're going to go from left to right. Okay, so I'm going to start at negative 4, 0. I'm going to use a line segment to connect that to the point at 6, negative 7. And then I am going to do the same to connect to connect 6, -7 to 8, -3. Okay, so that green graph is your final graph here. Okay, so let me re-highlight this so you can see clearly what the graph is. If you fold your sheet of paper, if you do both flips, you flip over the x-axis and you flip over the y-axis, the green graph is going to lie directly on top of the blue graph. Okay? All right, so we can go ahead and do the same thing for the other graph. Okay, we're going to go ahead, do both flips. We'll keep track of our old points versus our new points. All right, so for here, our old points are located at -8, 6, 0, 5, and then 8, -2. And we want to do both flips to see where the new points end up. Okay. All right. Again, I will first flip over the x-axis. Okay. Let me start. I'm going to count boxes towards the x-axis. So the point at -8, 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units above the x-axis. So you fold your sheet of paper. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units below the x-axis. Okay, I am going to put an X right here because that's not the final position of the point. We now need to take this X and flip it over the y-axis. Okay, so now what we will do is count boxes towards the y-axis. Okay, the X is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the left of the y-axis. You will fold a sheet of paper. It will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the right and land at the point 8, -6. All right, let's move the next point. Okay, our next point is at 0, 5. Okay, we first need to flip it over the x-axis. So I'm going to draw towards the x-axis. This point is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units above the x-axis. So I'm going to fold the sheet of paper. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units below. So I'm going to put an X there, okay, because you still have to do the y-axis flip. However, the X is on the y-axis. So when you fold your sheet of paper along the blue line, the X is not going to go anywhere. Okay, so this X is actually the final spot for this new point. Okay, so 0, 5 is getting sent to 0, -5. Okay, all right, let's do the last one here. Let's take a look at the point at 8, -2. Let's first flip it over the x-axis. Okay, so I'm going to draw towards the x-axis. This point is 1, 2 units below the x-axis. So you're going to fold the sheet of paper. It's going to go 1, 2 boxes above the x-axis. So I'm going to put my X there because now I need to flip the gray X over the y-axis. Over the y-axis. Okay, so let's draw towards the y-axis. This gray X is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the right of the y-axis. So if you fold a sheet of paper, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units to the left of the y-axis and end up right here at -8, 2. All right, so let me write that down, -8, 2. So I'm going to go ahead and erase the intermediate steps here. Okay, and now I can see my 3 dots. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and connect them in green. Okay, you want to use a curve, go from left to right. All right, so let me give this a shot. Sometimes it's a little difficult to draw this in. It's going to look something like that. Okay, if you do both flips, you fold your sheet of paper along the x-axis and you fold it also along the y-axis, the blue graph is going to lie directly on top of the green graph. Okay, let's compare our points. Okay, so let's go to the first graph here, compare old versus new. Notice for these points, both coordinates change. Okay, look at the x coordinates. You go from -8 to +8. You go from -6 to +6. You go from -4 to +4. The y values also change sign. You go from 3 to -3, 7 and -7. Okay, and this makes sense because you're doing both flips. You will observe the same thing for the second graph. Okay, your x coordinates change sign, and all the y coordinates also change sign. Okay, so let's go ahead and write this down. When we are dealing with origin symmetry, if you start with a generic point x, y, that point is going to get sent to the point -x, -y. Okay, this means x and y both change sign. Okay, so let's go back to page 6 and write down this observation. Okay, in the third bullet point right here, if a graph has origin symmetry, then if you start with a generic point, x, y, okay, that means that that point is going to get sent to -x, -y. Okay, so here what happens with origin symmetry is that x and y both change sign. Okay, so let's recap here. Okay, if you are dealing with x-axis symmetry, okay, if you start with a point x, y, what will happen? That point will get sent to x, -y, meaning x will stay the same and y will change sign. Okay, if you are dealing with y-axis symmetry, if you start with a point x, y, okay, that point is going to get sent to -x, y. That means that x changes sign and y stays the same. And then lastly, if you're dealing with origin symmetry, if you start with a point x, y, the new point will be -x, -y. Both x and y will change sign. Okay, something I want to point out to kind of help you remember this, okay, if you are dealing with x-axis symmetry, it's the x coordinate that's going to stay the same. If you are dealing with y-axis symmetry, it is the y coordinate that is going to stay the same. Okay, and then it's easy to remember that for origin, both coordinates change.